Hi, I'm Andy with EcoCha, and here we are with batch number 38 of the EcoCha Tea Club. And this month's batch is a Long Feng Xia, Shan Cha. Long Feng means Dragon Phoenix. It's a section of the Shan high mountain tea growing region in Nantou County. Long Feng Xia is Dragon Phoenix Gorge, and it's the place name of the southernmost ridge along the Shan mountain range, so to speak, the area where Shan high mountain Oolong tea comes from. And it's famous for producing some of the best quality Shan high mountain Oolong, namely because of its geographic location. It's on the south side of a very complex mountainous region with steep, narrow valleys. The Long Feng Xia area is a ridge that overlooks a large, wide, and very deep gorge. And the fact that it's southern facing, it has more sun exposure, and the fog rising from this massive gorge is more reaches that area more accessibly. So it has strong sun, more exposure to more sun exposure in general, and then it gets more fog or more consistent fog than the more inlying, narrower valleys that take a little longer to fill up. And of course, the narrower valleys have a shorter span of daily sun exposure as well. So Long Feng Xia is a renowned name here in Taiwan for some of the best high mountain oolong available, particularly from the Shan growing region. Given that, we decided to share this batch of Long Feng Xia high mountain oolong tea, not only because of where it comes from, but even more so because of how it was processed. Because we see it as representing a newer trend of high mountain oolong processing that we are supportive of and we can get behind. We think there's a good rationale to it. This batch stands in contrast to that convention of harvesting early to ensure quality or consistent quality, to get your harvest done on time, so to speak. These leaves are larger than what you normally find, but still not overly mature at all. There's not really any yellowing going on. They're just big, and big means more substantial in terms of the constituents within the leaves that will brew a heartier or more substantial brew. In addition to the harvest time that sets this batch of tea apart, the most obvious factor and the initial reason that we chose to share it was the fact that these leaves, at the end of their initial processing, so basically after the withering and oxidation and the kill green or cease oxidation, tumble heating, the rolling and drying, the very last stage after the leaves were completely rolled and mostly dried, they were dried more extensively in the conveyor belt dryer, the initial drying machine used in oolong and in fact all tea processing here. This particular technique of drying them further at a little bit higher temperature ensures that the moisture has been depleted. The effect is that it not only stabilizes the composition of the leaf and gives it a significantly better shelf life, the original flavor is maintained after processing and after it's packaged and reopened. It does change the flavor profile of the tea. It goes from a very fragrant, you lose those high aromatic notes, and also along with the kind of green grassy flavor notes, but you gain a mellower, more substantial, fuller bodied tea that is sweeter and in the end, more satisfying in the long run, in my personal experience and also in the opinion of the makers and the people that support it in the industry here. So we find it to be a more sustainable method of tea production, namely because it stabilizes the shelf life and the quality of the tea is more stable and is not compromised after the tea has been opened and we're using the tea over time. With greener teas, we have to be really careful, and even when we're careful, that initial freshness does change with time. This tea is much less susceptible to doing that. Okay, we're finally getting around to pouring our first brew here. I put 10 grams in a pot. This pot is about 175 milliliters. As all quality higher elevation tea, you can put a little bit more. The ratio can be a little bit higher and it can handle it. Having said that, you don't want to put too much. If you pack your pot, you're going to get a full flavored tea, and this tea is very unlikely to become astringent easily, but you do cover up the subtleties of flavor and aroma when you brew it more concentrated. So we suggest starting out a little bit light and then slowly finding the sweet spot in terms of the ratio of leaves to water. The color of the tea is very similar to your standard high mountain tea. It's definitely still on the yellowish green side, perhaps a little deeper than the very lightly oxidized oolongs that we get. Again, so this batch, let me back up a little bit. The leaves are a little bit more mature. The one thing I didn't mention is that the oxidation level is also a little bit higher, definitely noticeably higher than the conventionally made high mountain tea here in Taiwan. And that little bit extra oxidation allows for this more extensive drying and creates that balanced character overall. If you took a very green tea and did the extensive drying, you might not get the best results or as good a results as we have here. Let's have a sip. Just a really nice balance of pastry, fresh pastry, a little bit of sweetness on the palate, balanced by a dry finish. It definitely has the fresh, unroasted. It's still an unroasted tea. Yeah, it's still fresh. Definitely buttery as well. Scone, fresh scone aroma, and I get that with the flavor. Very balanced, smooth, and comforting, really. I just feel that the technique that produces this level of balance and the substantial flavor is more interesting than the standard technique of a very lightly oxidized, very green profile. The reason high mountain tea is made that way is because it's the easiest way to achieve consistent results. If you're working with young leaves and you oxidize them minimally, you are most likely to get the same result each time. So we hope to see more of this here in the local industry. We know that we will support it whenever we have a chance. There's definitely green, there's enough freshness in there. You still get some garden fresh, refreshing, stimulating flavor. Like Swiss chard. It's a lot like Swiss chard sauteed in butter, minus the garlic. Very nice nose, very pleasant. The tea makers in this area, in my personal experience over 25 years of wandering about, are some of the best in the world. A lot of them are traditional Dongting Oolong tea makers, and they're applying generations of knowledge to their production skills. They're not just following the trend of producing high mountain oolong because it's a lucrative produce. They are taking pride in their family tradition. So there you have it, Long Feng Xia High Mountain Oolong Tea Winter 2018. Please let us know what you think. Add your comments and your photos and your tasting videos to the blog post that we put up for your reference. Please like and share and subscribe if you haven't to our YouTube channel to let other people know that we're here doing this, sharing each batch of tea with you and our knowledge of each batch that we find and share with the Eco Cha Tea Club. Thanks for being with us, and we'll see you next month.